So guys, the APC government are doing everything possible to make sure that there is no opposition come 2027. Because right now they are planning to register NDC after all they did to ADC. Don't to do the same to the NDC. And this is what Obi had to say when he visited Madonna in Anambra State. He said that federal government is doing everything possible to stop me from contesting in the 2027 election. I can tell you for a fact they won't win. Mr. Peter will be speaking at Madonna University in Anambra State hours after the Federal High Court told INEC to deregister NDC. So after all the governors that APC have, after all the police, the judges, the army, building houses for judges, and they are so scared of NDC. Why are they scared of NDC? I thought that they have power in their hands. I thought they have over 31 governors, and those governors have promised that they will deliver their state for APC. So why are they scared of the NDC? Because they know the kind of force that Kwankwaso and P2B have. Just in the north, you saw the kind of massive crowd that came to support Kwankwaso and Peter Obi. You saw those crowd, and APC knows that if this crowd comes out for voting in the next election, that there is high chances of NDC winning. And P2B have given us his word that even though FG, the APC government, are planning so hard to make sure that he does not come in the ballot box, because this was what happened in LP. They sent moles to LP and they destroyed the Labour Party. P2B left to the ADC. Now ADC started doing some hidden movements, and P2B saw it and left to the NDC. Now the APC government have followed P2B to the NDC, and here says that we will be on the ballot despite court ruling NDC, because many of them have come out to react on this issue. This coming from the national secretary of the NDC. He said that the court ruled that NDC was deemed registered by INEC. Reading the entire judgment, the court made several consequential orders that effectively treated the NDC as having been registered by INEC from the date we submitted our application. INEC had a legal duty to register us after we met all the requirements, but it refused to do so. So without any lawful justification, that is what compelled us to go to the courts. So guys, this is what happened. This is coming from Ikenna Enekwa Izu, the National Secretary of the NDC. I'm going to watch the video and then the video from Chinese television, and then let me get your views in the comment, because I don't know why the APC government are so scared of NDC. They are scared of this man called Peter Obi, because he knows that the love he has from Nigerians is a genuine love. This man does not pay bribe. This man does not pay anybody money. People come out, support them with their own resources just to make sure that P2B becomes our next president. And then the APC government are so scared of him. Let me get your views in the comment, and please don't forget to subscribe. I will show you guys in my next video, guys.
The man who did not have this encouraged. If I said you what I'm going today, you will have not been there. And everybody asked me, are you serious to go to Madonna? And I said yes, I'm going there. And they said, what is happening now that you're going there? I said yes, I've seen the worst of it. Today, the federal government of Nigeria is doing everything possible to ensure that I'm not a candidate to this election. But I'll tell you, they won't win. Using the lines where they don't cycle. Using the lines where they don't cycle, they don't need it. You don't cycle like you leaders. So you want to commit to know that I want to get there. It's not going to be easy. It will be difficult. But your determination, your commitment is what will take you there. Don't look at your circles. Your circles is already there. Look at the destination.
In fact, we're not just registered. The original and substantive judgment of the court was that we were deemed to have been registered by INEC. Deemed registered. In fact, if you read the entirety of that judgment, a lot of consequential orders were made that made it look like we were actually registered by INEC from when we actually applied. INEC had a duty to register us, refused for no justification to register us after we had met all the requirements for registration. That was what drove us to court. And the court held that when INEC, in the course of hearing, admitted that the only reason for which they had refused to register us, which was that our logo resembled that of APC, not Peace Mass Move Party, whatever. The letter they wrote to us, and on the basis of which we went to court, stated that our logo resembled that of APC, All Progressives Congress. That is why we went to court. And that is why it was not necessary at the time we went to court to join any other party other than INEC. In fact, if we had any reason to have joined anybody at that stage, it would have been APC itself, because the reason for not refusing to register us was that our logo resembled that of APC, not a non-existing PMP. Now, it was only when we got to court, after we had filed and served our originating summons, that INEC, in their response to our originating summons, mentioned the name PMP, stating that our logo looked like that of PMP. It is a fundamental principle of law that you cannot reprobate and approbate. If you had given one reason for refusing to register NDC and for which we had gone to court, the moment you abandoned that reason in the course of the trial and actually admitted before the court that that reason you gave originally did not actually exist, you had conceded to that judgment. And so we had no reason from the beginning to have joined PMP. Now, basically, when they raised PMP as a reason, a new reason for which we were never told, our response was very simple. One, as at the time we went to court, there were 18 registered political parties. PMP was not one of them. Two, 171 political associations applied to be registered as political parties. PMP was not one of them. So there was no reason for you to use a non-existing PMP as a justification for not wanting to register us. Okay. In fact, during the course of the hearing, the judge asked, first, does INEC now admit that our logo does not look like that of APC? INEC said yes. Now, is PMP a registered political party? INEC said no. Is PMP one of the 171 that applied for registration? INEC said no. One would then wonder, if PMP was not one of the registered political associations during that registration process, in what way were their rights breached?
This time around, there is an existential threat to your party. But with the ruling today, does your party still consider itself a legally recognized political party today in Nigeria?
Well, the ruling said the judgment earlier given by the court has been set aside. But the ruling, there was no part of that ruling where an order was made deregistering NDC. So, as far as we are concerned, our party is still subsisting, has not been deregistered, and will continue to operate as NDC and will continue to operate as normal. For now, what we have done is to commence the process of appealing the judgment. As I talk to you, our team of lawyers at work trying to set aside what has been done today. But as I tell you, there are no issues about our candidates and their candidature in the elections. We believe that since no order was made deregistering the party, we are still a registered political party and continue to remain so until any direct judgment of any court will say so.
The rest here is identity.
Yeah.
Whether or not there is a clash. And interesting part is that there are those who also argue in this matter that your identity and logo looks like that of the broom of the APC. Another argument of that is that Peace Movement Party, which this is your logo, and like the producer to put up the logo of the NDC, that there is a clash, and whether or not the Peace Movement Party says he wants to be joined in that matter, and the court has thrown that matter back to status quo to say, go and start hearing this matter. It means that there is an existential problem, because your identity is your party is your identity. The only way one can recognize the NDC on the ballot is by your identity, and that is a major issue. When you were filing this, and I know that you have gone, and the leader of your party had gone back and forth with INEC on this issue of identity, how come? Is it an oversight? Is it lack of a due diligence? How did you find yourself in this kind of messy situation?
All right, first and foremost, I want us to look at two perspectives of this matter. The first perspective is the issue of, because the judgment said Peace Movement Party ought to have been made a party to the proceedings in the first place. That cannot be true. We started the process of raising our political party as far back as 2017. At the time we started the process, our logo was an elephant. Somewhere along the line, we realized that there was another party that had the logo, elephant as its logo. We applied to INEC to change our logo.
You realized that there was an elephant in the room?
Yes, there was. So we applied to change our logo, and we introduced the logo of the victory sign. That was in 2024. No problems. Now, thereafter, in 2025, September to be precise, more than 1 year after we had successfully changed our logo, INEC wrote to us saying that they cannot continue our registration process, on the sole reason being that according to INEC's letter, our logo looked like that of the APC. We disagreed with INEC. We wrote to INEC and made two requests. First request, allow us, while we do not agree that the logo of the NDC looks like that of the APC, the logo of the APC is a broom held by a hand. Our logo is a victory sign. We should be allowed to at least change the logo so that our registration process should continue. INEC refused. Ultimately, we went to court. We went to court because INEC refused to register us on the grounds that our logo looked like that of the APC. We got to court. At the time we went to court, we didn't know about PMP. We didn't know about any other association that had a logo that looked like that of the, like ours. We only knew that INEC had refused to register us because, according to them, which is false, our logo looked like that of the APC. So we took INEC to court. While in court, INEC filed a defense, and in their defense, for the first time, they raised the issue of PMP, saying that our logo looked like that of PMP. In our response to that statement, we said, first and foremost, there are 18 political parties as at that time registered in Nigeria, and none of them is PMP. None of them has any logo that looks like ours. Secondly, out of the 171 political associations that registered seeking registration, none of them is PMP. So there was no basis for you to say that our logo looked like that of any other political party when there was none, either that has applied for registration or that was registered as a political party in Nigeria as at the time we were in consideration. During hearing, the judge asked INEC, PMP, is it a registered political party? INEC said no. Amongst the 171 associations that applied for registration, is PMP one of them? The INEC said no. So why are you bringing up the issue of PMP at this point? It was not the reason you refused to register us, and it was not the reason we came to court. The court, in its well-considered judgment, overruled every argument of INEC, including the issue of PMP that had no basis at all, and registered us. Now, as a lawyer, you are also a lawyer, you know. First and foremost, there are only two grounds, basically in law, by which you can set aside a judgment. One is that the judgment in itself is a nullity ab initio. Secondly, that your judgment was obtained by fraud. None of this applies in this case. Secondly, when a party feels that its interest is affected by any judgment of any court, what it will do is to apply, after judgment has been given, is to apply to appeal against that judgment as an interested party. And legally speaking, every rules or procedure of courts, there are time limits for appeal and for you to apply to appeal as an interested party. As far back as December 10 last year, judgment was delivered in this matter. It was common knowledge in the whole country that a court judgment has been issued ordering that NDC be registered. From December 10 when that judgment was given till today, you can check when PMP purportedly filed the application. You don't set aside a judgment, a duly considered judgment that was given on its merits.
Finalized,
enforced. The only defendant in that judgment was INEC. And INEC looked at the matter and decided that there was no basis for an appeal.
But look at what the court has said today. The court held that material facts were not disclosed during
What were the material facts?
What were the material facts?
That's the question you asked the court.
The question the court is asking is that the ruling specifically started non-disclosure of material facts.
What are the material facts?
You should ask your facts.
No.
Because the court said you are
if the court had said the material facts were hidden, the court will state what the material facts are. First and foremost, we argued in court that the party that came to court, the Peace Mass Movement, is not a known registered body. It's not a political party. It's not a registered association known to law. They claim to have applied for registration with INEC in 2015, and that INEC refused to register them in 2015, 9 years ago, and they went to sleep.
Do you suspect any foul play here?
Of course, every Nigerian knows that there's a foul play. Recently, Sean, a court in Nigeria ordered some parties to be deregistered. We are still talking about that. Another court that has given a final judgment that is subject only to an appeal is now turning around to give you a ruling. You are setting aside a judgment that is not a nullity, that was not obtained by fraud, by virtue of a ruling for an order to set aside.
But can the court by itself set aside its own ruling?
I don't want to say it's kindergarten law that a court cannot do that. Everybody knows that a court cannot do that. The question is, why will a court, particularly a judge of that age at the bench,
procedurally,
to even hear the matter?
Procedurally, which court has the power to revert itself?
At this stage, and
I've told you, for the knowledge
every judge, every court
has
the right to set aside its own judgment on two conditions only.
If they found out?
One, if they found out that if the court had no jurisdiction in the first place to give the judgment, where the judgment is said to be a nullity. In that case, the court can, on proper application, set aside its judgment. The other case is where the judgment was obtained by fraud. Then the party applied.
Hiding material facts is not part of the principle that will allow a court to.
And then even at that, it is only the defendant in the matter that can bring an application to set aside. In a situation where material fact was hidden, the party must first of all apply for leave to appeal, not to set aside. The procedure does not provide for anybody can jump out from anywhere.
Did your legal team underestimate the implications of this? Because the fundamental issue that INEC was presenting to the court was that you cannot register your party because of identity clash. And if the court now says, go back to the very beginning of this argument, does that mean one thing? When INEC said, I cannot register, and the court said, let's begin this trial.
Court, in the substantive proceedings, admitted first and foremost that our logo did not resemble that of APC. That was the first thing they admitted to. Then secondly,
that's in the trial.
In the trial, they admitted. In fact, they didn't raise it. The moment we filed our suit, they didn't mention INEC logo anymore. They didn't mention APC logo anymore because they admitted during the proceedings that actually, in fact and in truth, our logo, the logo of the NDC, which is a two-finger victory sign, did not in any way resemble that of the APC. They now introduced the issue of Peace Mass Movement and admitted further that Peace Mass Movement is not a registered political party. It's not one of the 171 political associations that applied for registration. So there was no basis.
So fundamentally, what the court has said is that go back to the beginning of this matter.
The court had no right to do so.
As a
matter of fact,
just a moment, I'm trying to break it down for our viewers to understand, so that they will know what the implications are. The court simply said, go back and start this matter all over again. That's right.
Sean, you're a lawyer. First and foremost, no judge has the right or the power to rehear a case it has had to conclusion. The principle of law is that at that point, the judge is functus officio. It has no right anymore to reopen the matter. In the first, I think it's very wrong for the judge to even have agreed to hear the matter from the very beginning. Because the moment the application was made, the judge ought to have known that not having the power to reopen the case, it cannot take any application on it. The only option that was open to PMP is that they could have applied to appeal that judgment, as an interested party.
Let's look at it. Political associations are regulated by INEC. And in that sense, there are those who will argue that your party should have just gone ahead and meet the requirement as being stated by INEC. Go and amend your logo because there is a look-alike, there is a clash of identity. And there are those who will now say, why is NDC wanting to use the court to bypass INEC registration process, attempting to achieve through the court what it could not obtain administratively?
Brother, let me tell you something. I'll ask you one question. 171 political associations applied for registration. Only one was registered. Do you actually believe that the rest 170 associations did not meet the threshold of the requirements of law? The truth is that that particular INEC had made up its mind not to register anybody. Our process started since 2017. We had met all everything, everybody that. In fact, INEC in the proceedings in substantive trial admitted before the court that we had met all the requirements for registration. What you're saying is what some third parties who were not there, who do not know the facts of our case, have been saying in public, and we have tried severally to say this is not true. We didn't go to court because we are not qualified. In fact, if we were not qualified, the court would not have registered us or ordered our registration. We went to court because we have met every condition for registration. But INEC whimsically decided they would not register us on the flimsy and excuse that our logo resembled that of APC. And you and I know.
Mr. Morgan,
yes.
Is this a setback for your party?
Naturally, it could be considered a setback, but the truth of the matter is that, like I said, we are continuing with our activities. We are put together a team to appeal against it, and we are confident that nothing would happen to us.
What if the fresh hearing now goes against you?
We're not going to go through a fresh hearing.
That's what the court has said. That's what the court says.
See, elementary law shows that the court had no right in the first place to make that order. The court had no right even in the first place to hear that application. So how can you cannot place anything on nothing and expect it to stand?
Your presidential candidate is of the opinion that this is in part about him, and that there is an effort to ensure that he's not on the ballot. Do you think so?
Every Nigerian that is old enough to understand things know that there are people who do not want the democratic space to be expanded so there can be a proper contestation for positions in the next general election. Every Nigerian knows that what is happening in the political space today is predetermined by certain persons that do not want proper contest. You don't need anybody to tell you that. Peter Gregory Obi, who is our presidential candidate, is the choice of a gross majority of Nigerian people to assume the mantle of leadership of this country come 2027. And some persons who know they do not stand a chance against him in the elections do not want him to be on the ballot. That's what this is all about, and that's the reality.
And you don't think this could happen in 2027?
It will not happen. I can assure you that it will not happen.
But is the NDC ready for a long legal battle? And this is my fear. Considering legal timelines in this country, it does look like you're running against time.
We have 6 months or thereabout to the next general elections in January and February next year. So, let me tell you something. There's a funny thing about this matter. We were scheduled to pick up our codes to start uploading our candidates today. In fact, we were at INEC yesterday. We were supposed to be at INEC today to pick up the codes. And then at the middle of the day today, this ruling just comes up. I think it was designed and timed to stop us from picking up those codes. But I can assure you that we'll pick them up. We'll pick them up, we'll upload our candidates, we'll participate in the elections, and I can tell you now, and I can also tell our supporters, our members, and our candidates, they have nothing to fear. All our candidates will be on the ballot come 2027, and we'll win the elections, because Nigerians are fed up with what is going on in this country today. We are fed up with the hunger, the insecurity, the failures of government, the heartlessness of the government that is ruining this country today, not ruling this country. And all their efforts to ensure that credible candidates like the candidates we have as our candidates contesting the elections, because they are of their fear of a defeat. And it will happen. It will come to them.
The motion on notice when the PNP joined in this matter, was this served on the NDC?
Yes, it was. The PNP did not join. The right thing for them to have done, like I said, repeatedly, if a party felt that a judgment affected it and it needs to appeal, not set aside the judgment, because it cannot set it aside, legally speaking. I'm old enough as a lawyer to know that you cannot set it aside. What it could have done is to bring an application before the same court that gave the judgment, seeking leave to appeal as an interested party. Normally, they would need to file their own notice of appeal and grounds of appeal, showing that they have a substantial case to argue at the Court of Appeal. And the court can decide to grant them leave or not. That's the only application a judge who has given judgment the matter can hear.
Just a moment. I know that just before now, you were at your party's press conference, and the national chairman of your party was speaking there. And these are some of the images coming from that press conference earlier today in Abuja. Let me allow you to have a listen to some of what was said at that press conference. Take a listen.
There was no order directing our deregistration. However, we are dissatisfied with the decision that has been made, and we have instructed our team of lawyers to immediately proceed to the Court of Appeal to challenge the jurisdiction and propriety of His Lordship's order. We assure the general public, and particularly our candidates at all levels, that our party is on course. The NDC has not been deregistered. And we are challenging today's order at the Court of Appeal as soon as possible. We have no doubt that justice will be done.
As the national chairman of the NDC earlier today, finally speaking, this is somewhat a setback, and a lot of people will think, if we vote NDC, this is it's going to be a wasted vote. Don't you think that the lethargy can come into the heart of your supporters?
You see, what they are trying to do will backfire against them.
What is it? Who are they?
We all know who they are. I don't need to mention their names.
No, I don't know. I'm asking.
No, I'm saying that we
and there are probably those
what I'm saying
who don't know. Who are
they are trying to make us more popular, more acceptable, because Nigerians will naturally rise up against tyranny. They'll naturally rise up against what the government of the day is trying to do. It's unfortunate that the judiciary is lending itself to this kind of absurdity. It's very unfortunate. But I tell you that Nigerians who are peace-loving, but Nigerians hate tyranny in all its forms. And what is going on today is not in the best interest of our democracy. It's not in the best interest of this country. And I'm sure even the international community will be looking at what is going on, and they will be shaking their heads in disbelief. I call upon all Nigerians who have any modicum of, should I say, good faith in this country to rise up and say no to what is going on. It's not, if it's NDC, it was ADC and other parties yesterday. NDC came out to say, no, it is wrong. You cannot order parties to be deregistered. Today, they are carrying the battle to NDC because they know that as of today, NDC is the actual, real opposition party in this country.
Because I've been wondering, why is the APC so scared of the NDC? Because they assume that they have over 31 governors on their side. But yet, they are so scared of the NDC because they know the kind of force that P2B and Kwankwaso is pulling in the north, especially in Kano. We have seen the crowd that came out to campaign and support for the Kwankwaso. We have seen the crowd. If this crowd comes out to vote, Tinubu knows that even to rig election will be very hard for APC. That's why they don't want to take chances. They want to register every party that will come as opposition. First of all, they attacked ADC. Now again, they're coming for the NDC. And Obi has given us his word that even though they try, they will not succeed. P2B is going to be on the ballot box, and P2B is going to contest against APC governments. And Nigerians, go and get your votes. P2B said, go and get your vote. Do your own part as being a Nigerian, which is voting and making sure your vote counts. That is the main priority now as a Nigerian. Leave all this court matter, APC, NDC. Just focus on getting your vote. On that day of election, go and vote for the right candidate, and then let's leave the rest in the hands of those that are meant to do the job. So guys, let me get your views in the comment, and please don't forget to subscribe and leave a like and a comment section, guys. I also get to my next video.